44 lives lost in a blaze that spread across 7 towers, and nearly 300 people still unaccounted for. Thousands of miles away, India's betting big on keeping planes in the air. China is punishing Japan without saying why. And Apple's fighting a fine that could buy you a small country. And the Indian Army wants to double down on its youngest soldiers. Let's unwrap it all. Good morning. Welcome to Top of the Morning by Mint. I'm your host, Nelson John, and this is your smart daily briefing on what matters. We cut through the noise so you start your day informed and ahead. It's Thursday, November 27th. Let's get started. 44 people dead, 279 still missing, and a firefighter who gave his life trying to save others. That's the toll from the massive blaze that tore through Wong Fu Court, a residential complex in Hong Kong's Tai Po district on Wednesday. The fire started mid-afternoon and kept burning well past midnight, spreading across 7 high-rise buildings that house nearly 4,800 residences. 3 people have been arrested on suspicion of manslaughter. Here's what investigators are piecing together so far. The fire appears to have started on external scaffolding of a 32-story building before winds carried it inside and across the nearby towers. At least 29 people were hospitalized, 7 of them in critical condition. Chief Executive John Lee announced a dedicated investigation team that has been set up. Police and the fire service departments have already set up dedicated investigation teams to investigate the cause of fire, he said. The rescue operation was brutal. Derek Armstrong Chang, Deputy Director of Fire Service Operations, described near impossible conditions. The temperature inside the buildings is very high. It's difficult for us to enter the building and go upstairs to conduct firefighting and rescue operations, he mentioned. Falling debris and scaffolding made things worse. Over 140 fire trucks and 60 ambulances rushed to the scene. Even as night fell on Wednesday, some residences remain trapped inside. For those who lost their homes, Tai Po district officials set up temporary shelters. Wong Fu Court is a large estate with 8 towers and nearly 2,000 flats, home to many elderly residences. Chinese President Xi Jinping expressed condolences to the families and called for every effort to minimize casualties. This is now one of the deadliest fires Hong Kong has ever witnessed. Here's a number that tells you everything about India's aviation ambitions. 85% of India's aircraft maintenance works currently happens outside the country. Prime Minister Narendra Modi wants to change that. On Wednesday, he virtually inaugurated the world's largest maintenance, repair and overhaul facility for CMF LEAP engines in Hyderabad. French aerospace company Safran is investing around 2,000 crore rupees in this facility, which will serve around 300 engines annually when it becomes operational next year. Modi also laid the foundation stone for a separate MRO for M88 engines, the ones powering Rafale jets. That's a 400 crore rupee investment and Safran's first M88 facility outside France. The Indian aviation sector is going to take a new flight from now, Modi said. This MRO facility will also create new opportunities for young people in the world of high-tech aerospace. The context matters here. India is the world's 3rd largest domestic aviation market. Indian Airlines have ordered more than 1,500 new aircraft. Over 400 LEAP-powered aircraft already powers with 5 Indian carriers, with another 2,000 LEAP engines on order. Safran CEO Oliver Andres put it simply, India has become one of the fastest growing markets in the world for civil aviation, where passenger traffic is expected to more than double over the next 20 years. India's aircraft MRO market is projected to reach $4 billion by 2031. China's embassy in Tokyo is telling its citizens to avoid Japan, citing reports of Chinese nationals facing unprovoked insults and beatings. But the real issue runs deeper. It's about Taiwan. Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi recently said a Chinese attack on Taiwan could trigger a military response from Japan. China wants those remarks retracted. Takaichi has refused to back down. Beijing is now wielding its economic leverage. Based on a similar 2012 dispute, economists estimate this travel advisory could cost Japan 1.8 trillion yen, roughly about $11.5 billion. More than 8 million Chinese visited Japan in the first 10 months of this year alone. The pressure extends beyond tourism. 2 Japanese movie releases in China have been postponed. A comedy festival in Shanghai cancelled shows by a Japanese entertainment company. Apple is taking India's antitrust regulator to court over a law that could expose the company to a staggering $38 billion penalty. The 2024 law allows India's Competition Commission to calculate penalties based on a company's global turnover, not just Indian revenue. Apple calls this manifestly arbitrary and unconstitutional. The backstory here is that investigators last year accused Apple of abusive conduct in its iOS app market, including restricting third-party payment processors and charging fees up to 30%. Apple denies wrongdoing. No final decision has been made yet. Apple argues penalties should only apply to specific business units involved, not the entire company's global operations. The case will be heard on December 3rd. The Indian Army is considering doubling its annual Agniveer recruitment from 50,000 to 100,000. The reason is straightforward. The Army faces a shortage of around 180,000 soldiers in the personnel below officer rank cadre. During the COVID years of 2020 and 2021, recruitment froze while approximately 60,000 soldiers retired annually. The Agnipath scheme, introduced in 2022, recruits soldiers for 4-year terms with only 25% retained for longer service. It replaces the legacy system where soldiers served about 20 years before retiring with full pension and benefits. More than 3,000 Agniveers, barely 20 years old, recently manned critical air defense systems during Operation Sindoor, the May clash with Pakistan. That's all for today. Thank you for joining in. We are eagerly looking forward to our next Top of the Morning episode, which will be packed with the latest news. Until then, this is Nelson John signing off. Have a tremendous Thursday.